Hello wise woman, welcome to my channel. I am Wanga and this is Woman Wellness, a place for every woman who wants to take back control of her life, understand her body and heal herself naturally. If this is your first time joining, then you're welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about a very unsexy topic, and that's diarrhea, bowel movements and gas in and around the time of your period. Believe it or not, as much as we may not talk about it, most women experience a change in their bowel movements in and around their period and also an increase in gas. One of the influencing factors in gut motility is your hormones. So how well you're producing, when you're producing, and in what quantities you're producing your hormones, particularly estrogen and progesterone, will affect your gut motility. If we go back into the phases of your menstrual cycle, from your period to follicular phase to ovulation to your luteal phase, you'll notice that if you pay close attention, you'll notice that your bowel movements change from phase to phase. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm referring to phases, then go back to the video where I talk about tracking your period better than your period app, and then you'll be able to understand what I mean in terms of phases. So starting with your period, you may notice that you generally have looser stool or actual diarrhea, and as you go into your follicular phase, which is after your period, then you'll notice that you might actually be more regular. This is under the assumption that you do consume a sufficient amount of fiber. As you approach ovulation or at ovulation point, you may experience some constipation up until your mid-luteal phase, and then you'll notice that your bowel movements start to get more regular again or more looser as you approach your period. This has to do with those changes in your hormones as you go through your menstrual cycle. Now, the changes in your menstrual cycle, those are normal, those should happen, but your gut motility should not be influenced to such a point where you're getting complete constipation or serious diarrhea. That's not something that you should be experiencing at such levels. So I'm going to get into the remedies on how to regulate your bowel movement throughout your menstrual cycle. So aside from hormones, which influence your gut motility, prostaglandins are also a major contributing factor to your bowel movements during your period. Now, just before your period starts, prostaglandins, which are hormone-like substances, are released to start the process of shedding your uterine lining. They are supposed to assist in the contraction of your uterine muscles so that your uterine lining, aka your period, is shed properly and effectively in the few days that you're supposed to be having your period. If you have an excess amount of prostaglandins released at one time or overproduced, then you are going to also experience cramping and pain or dysmenorrhea, painful periods. This is one of the reasons, because prostaglandins are in excess and they're causing excess contractions of your uterine muscles, which causes pain. It can even get worse and cause diarrhea, because what is happening is that they're not just now contracting your uterine muscle, they're also contracting your intestines and increasing gut motility. So they're speeding up the food that is in your intestines before it's even fully digested and evacuating it through a bowel movement. So they cause that hypercontraction in your intestines, which can lead to looser stool, diarrhea, and even gas. If you experience dysmenorrhea, painful periods, and you also experience this change in your bowel movements, then you know that prostaglandins are one of those main contributing factors to what you're experiencing during your period. On top of that, if you have low progesterone or insufficient levels of progesterone, then those prostaglandins are unopposed, and that's what makes the period pains worse and the bowel movement irregularities. So having sufficient levels of progesterone will also help improve your bowel movements during your period. And now some women also experience constipation, or they alternate between diarrhea and constipation in and around the time of during their period. But how do we remedy this? How do we regulate your bowel movements throughout your period, but also throughout your menstrual cycle? Because a regular bowel movement, and that means going every day, is important for your hormone balance. If you don't go every day, or you eat 3 meals and only go once a day, you need to improve your diet, you need to improve your gut health, because this is important for your hormone balance. So how do we do that? Firstly, let's deal with the diarrhea that's happening, or the loose stool that you're experiencing during your period. You need to take out all foods that cause diarrhea or exacerbate diarrhea during your period, and that's sugary foods, spicy foods, artificial sweeteners, caffeine products, and dairy. All these have a laxative effect and will make you have more diarrhea or looser stool during your period. The second thing is to eat more foods that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. This, first of all, will counter the effects of prostaglandins. So they will reduce inflammation, which will reduce the pain and the cramping, and will also help improve your gut motility so that you're not dealing with the diarrhea or the looser stool during your period. I talked about this in the last video about foods to start eating the week before your period to reduce PMS symptoms, but also to improve your period experience. Then you need to drink more water. Whether you're constipated or whether you're having diarrhea, water is key. Constipation because you need to add more lubrication to your fecal matter to help it move along. And diarrhea, you're losing a lot of bodily fluids, so you need to replace that with drinking more water. If you're constipated, you can add more bitter foods and more bitter herbs, because that will improve gut motility and help you have more regular bowel movements. In your gut exists good bacteria and bad bacteria. To feed the good bacteria, you need prebiotics and probiotics. These will populate the good bacteria and feed it with the right foods that it wants to help maintain good gut health, good gut motility, and regular bowel movements. When there is an imbalance between your bad bacteria and your good bacteria, and your bad bacteria taking over, then you experience poor bowel movements or poor digestion, and then you'll also experience a lot of gas. So making sure that you're taking probiotics and prebiotics will improve your overall gut health, which will also affect your bowel movements. I will put examples, as always, of probiotics, prebiotics, and anything else that I mentioned in the caption below. And also it's important because some of your hormones are metabolized and converted in your gut. So if you don't have good gut health, then your good bacteria, which helps with the conversion and metabolism of some of your hormones, was not able to do that, which further contributes to hormone imbalance. And finally, fiber. I always talk about fiber because fiber is key to gut health and hormone balance. Fiber will help with gut motility. If you are constipated, fiber will also help with diarrhea because it helps to bind and solidify that loose stool. But fiber also helps to bind to those hormones that have been metabolized, broken down, and now are ready to be evacuated through a bowel movement. It helps to bind to that so that they do not re-enter your bloodstream and cause hormonal imbalance. So fiber is key, and good sources of fiber are of course fruits and vegetables, but also psyllium husk, flaxseed, and chia seeds. You can add these to your diet every single day, and it will help with your gut motility, make you regular, make sure that you're going every day, but also help with your hormone balance in the long term. If you're doing all these things and you're still experiencing irregular bowel movements between constipation and diarrhea, whether during your period or outside of it, but around the time of your period these symptoms get worse still, then you need to also look at what else may be going on. Are you having pain during sex? Are you having nausea and vomiting? Are you having the need to pee all the time, even when you've just peed, regardless of how little, how much water you have taken? Are you having body pains? Are you having a lot of pain even when you're not on your period, but still having that constipation or diarrhea? Then something else may be going on, and it's likely that there is gastrointestinal issues like irritable bowel syndrome, which is not uncommon to women who are having hormonal imbalance and women who are having dysmenorrhea, painful periods. If you experience an alternating between constipation and diarrhea throughout the month and not just during your period, or you experience these symptoms even worse during your period, then you need to see a doctor and get checked out to make sure and find out what exactly is causing this discomfort. Because it's one thing to only have this during your period, but if you experience this throughout your menstrual cycle and get the flare up or get it worse during your period, then it's not just, normal period poops and gas. There's something else going on. And aside from that irritable bowel syndrome, it could be endometriosis, it could be fibroids, it could be adenomyosis, it could be ovarian cysts, or it could be interstitial cystitis, which is a bladder issue. So get your whole pelvic region checked out. Your gastrointestinal health, your bladder health, and your womb health. Get everything checked out and make sure that you are okay, and improve your diet. So that's it for this video. I hope you found this helpful. I hope now you know how to improve your gut health, not only for just having, regular bowel movements, but for hormone balance as well, and to get rid of that uncomfortable gas and diarrhea during your period. So like the video, share it, subscribe, and until next time, take care and be well.